Okay, hello, and welcome to St. Luke's Episcopal Church in the Ballard neighborhood on the traditional land of the Coast Salish people, the first people of Seattle. I'm Canon Britt. I'm the vicar of this congregation, and here you will find food for your soul. Here you will drink the cup of new life. And that's how we start every Sunday morning for worship at St. Luke. So you're getting the regular Sunday morning greeting. Just a reminder to everyone, and thank you for still continuing to mask up inside. We've got goodies, coffee, and treats back there for anyone who would like to consume them either there or outside. And, Bill, all right, Brian and Bill are doing the work and give one to me, please, too. We are going to start by singing. So if you have a copy, share with others. Raise your hand if you don't have a copy. Bill, there you go. In the back. Yeah, in the back. All right. Don't forget Paige. All right. Great. We have a theme hymn for our, there she is. I was like, I better not have to leave this a cappella. So, yay, Lacey is here. We have a theme hymn for our redevelopment plans. And so, if you are willing and able, please stand. And Lacey, can you lead us in our opening hymn?
Yes. Let us build a house where love can dwell and all can safely live. A place where saints and children dwell, our hearts learn to forgive. Built of
pray. Gracious God, you have given us a goodly heritage in the land and people of this place and called us to serve as stewards of these resources. Give us wisdom and grace to follow your call as we discern how best to love you and our neighbor. Lead us by your Holy Spirit into a beloved community where all are welcome and included. All this we ask in the strong and tender name of Jesus and by the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to those of us who are joining us via Facebook Live from all over the country. For those of you on Facebook Live, you can at any time make a comment in the comments section or ask questions. And when we come to our question and answer time period, Paige is going to make sure that your comments and your questions get included in the discussion here today. I asked if everyone could just refrain from your comments and questions until the end, because we're going to have plenty of time for that. The presentation is not that long, and we'll have lots of time for questions and discussion. And just as a reminder that here in this exact same place, but only in person, not on Facebook Live, on the 26th of July, we're going to have a neighborhood meeting. Everyone in the neighborhood has been invited to that. Any of the St. Luke's community can come to that as well. It's the same information. It'll be at 6 o'clock on the 26th. So you can do that. Also, if at any time you want to get questions answered on the affordable housing and bridge housing, Housing St. Luke's is your search engine, and you will come up with a really thorough document that gives you information. And we'll have a link to that on our website on Tuesday. So, yeah, so I think that's all there's bathrooms out in the main area out there, women's and gender neutral bathrooms. There's goodies in the back. I think that's all you need to know. So St. Luke's has been in Ballard for 130 years in various locations and with various configurations of buildings and meeting places. So 130 years is pretty much as long as there's been a significant white population in Ballard. And we have now 55,000 square feet of land. We also have 3 lots in the back, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, is our 3 back lots. They have been variously home to, fairly recently, men who are coming out of prison, who lived in halfway houses that we had there on the land. They've been home to people who just graduated from college and are doing like a gap year as part of the Episcopal Service Corps. And for the last few years, they've been home to graduate students in psychology and theology who live and serve kind of as interns and live in our cottages. We had a vacant lot up until about 10 years ago. It was covered in weeds and holly bushes and an old boat, and some very intrepid people, I'm pointing to Susan Young and others, actually physically cleared that lot themselves with help from our groundskeeper and turned it into the Slug, which is the St. Luke's Urban Garden. It's owned by us and run through the church. It's not a public pea patch. So that's been part of our life and a bountiful, beautiful, life-giving part of our congregation and our community. Still, giving gardens are there, and produce from that goes to our kitchen to help feed people in the Edible Hope Kitchen. So that's the lot in the back. On this property, because these buildings are old, some of them are falling down, there have been many different attempts at redevelopment in the past. And in 2017, Bishop Greg Rickel encouraged us to consider one more time what might be possible with this land, with this property. So we formed what's called the Property Stewardship Team. And we call it that, stewardship, and you'll hear why that's an important word for us. Members of that team who are here, I think it's only Susan who's here. Stand up, Susan. Is there anyone else from the team? Oh, Bill. Sorry, Bill's in the, stand up, Bill. And then online we have some of our property stewardship team, including our chair, Barbara Wilson, who is hopefully tuning in from Alaska, if she gets internet in some back cove where she is. So this land, the Episcopal Diocese of Olympia holds title to the land, and we are simply its stewards, the most recent of the human stewards of this land. We have the responsibility for caring for the land and for our neighbors in line with our mission, which is to feed people in body, mind, and spirit with the love of God, in the name of Jesus, and by the power of the Holy Spirit. That's our mission. And so this land, these buildings are tools, and we have the responsibility of using them for that mission. So we did a year-long visioning process. Some of you were present for that, many of you are new. We included not just our congregation, but our Edible Hope guests and volunteers, our neighbors, our partners on the property. We included the Ballard Business Alliance, the Ballard Alliance, which is busy really right now today putting on the Seafood Festival. And we included people from our diocese. And when we did that visioning process, we identified that one of our really strong essential goals was to provide as much affordable family housing as possible. And we thought that we could possibly, using the MFTE, the multiple family tax exempt requirements, that we might get as many as 45 to 47 units of affordable housing, but it would sunset after 15 years. And that was our hope, until we found partners who helped us to see that we could do so much more than that. And it's a miracle. It is totally above and beyond what we could ask or imagine. And you're going to hear what we're going to be able to do today from Bridge Housing. So we couldn't have done this without our amazing partners and our professionals. The Bishop Greg Rickel, the Diocesan Board of Directors, they financed the initial pre-development work, but we have also benefited tremendously from some other granting partners. Trinity Episcopal Church in Wall Street in New York City has not only provided expertise to us, but also grants to help us during this pre-development phase. And I think some of our friends from Trinity are on Facebook Live. They're on East Coast time, so hey, we are so glad that you're there. We also got a grant from Enterprise Community Service, or Enterprise Community Housing, and that helped with paying for things. And that has made it possible for us to get to this point so far where we can tell you what we're planning to do. We also hired professionals. We put out what's called an RFP. Some of you may be familiar with that, request for proposal. We interviewed tons of people. We decided who we really wanted to work with. And I'm glad to introduce you to our real estate professional, Chris Fiore. Stand up. So Chris is part of Heartland LLC, and he will be humble, but it's because of his and Heartland's vision for what could be possible here that we're able to do what we're going to do today. We also hired our owners' representatives. I think they're on Facebook Live from Interbay. That's Jen Creighton and Scott Lee. We also got a great Cracker Jack legal team led by Michelle Gale, and that's Hillis Clark. And so those are our professionals. And then when we get to the point where we're able to tell you about our church space, which will have a new church space, we hope, our architectural firm that we've chosen is Olson Kundig, and the principal, Kirsten Ring Murray, lives in the Ballard neighborhood, and she is our principal architect. So we then, meeting with our professionals in 2020, we put out an RFP, again, a request for proposal, to affordable housing providers. Now that's a short list in the Seattle area. People who are qualified to build, run affordable housing. And we got some proposals, and we chose Bridge Housing. And we're very pleased with that choice, and you're going to hear from them now about what they have developed in terms of our plans. We signed our formal final agreement on May 31st, and things are moving towards a time frame that they're going to share with you on when we may begin to see progress towards actually building the affordable family housing that they are going to provide. So I'd like to introduce Allison Lorig, who is a Senior Vice President for Bridge Housing, and she's going to take over.
not used to microphones at this point, so let me know. All right, Britt, if we can help me make sure I'm projecting far enough. Bridge is super excited to be part of the St. Luke's redevelopment of this site in Ballard. As all of you are aware, Ballard is a phenomenal neighborhood, and through COVID and all, we've had quite a challenge with affordable housing. We're just starting to get the latest crop of affordable housing need across the country. Actually, Up for Growth just put out their article about how far behind we are in housing in general, which is over 3 million nationwide. There are some local folks who also talk a little bit more about what's going on in Puget Sound, and all the cities around the area will be taking that information and putting out their new comp plans. So the need is dire, we all know it, but of course with COVID and other constraints, we just haven't been producing. So the fact that you and St. Luke's are willing to provide property and work with us on affordable housing in this location is fantastic. I wanted to give you a little bit of background on Bridge. Bridge Housing actually started, just a little background, in the 80s, and originally started in the Bay Area, and it was funded by an anonymous grant of about $600,000 to help the people of the Bay Area for affordable housing. And instead of studying it, which is a lot of what happens, I think, when we're trying to deal with a problem, Bridge Housing decided to actually start building housing and sort of learning along the way and figuring out what was the solution. And we've gotten some more tools along the way, and in all of those years, we've learned a lot. And every time we do a project, we take those learnings and we apply it to the new projects. So as of today, we've got about 1,300 units under management between as far south as San Diego and as far north as just on the Seattle border close to Shoreline. So basically up and down the I-5 corridor in some of the most expensive cities in in the States. It's been a long time since I've been addressing a group, but very excited to be here. And we have about 9,000 in our pipeline that we're actively working on right now and dealing with the constraints. We've been in the Seattle area for just over 6 years. I was lucky enough to join Bridge when they decided to open up their office in Seattle, and have been working in development for about 20 years now. And lucky for me, being able to work in both affordable housing and market rate, mostly in urban infills, and mostly partnered with organizations and nonprofits who are trying to actually build space for themselves and meet a mission. So really, that's a little bit of our background. We not only develop, but we do manage our properties, and we manage for the long term. That allows us to make better decisions, I like to think, because development is an iterative process. We're overlaying not only the goals of St. Luke's, but the goals of the community, along with the practical realities of what code requires us to build to, and the financial realities of actually how do we pay for it. And as everybody is probably aware, with inflation, costs going up for not only loans, construction is going up too. And it's a work product, not a work product, but it's a process, and you really have to keep the goal in mind. The goal is to provide affordable housing and for all of us to come together to do what it takes to get there. We're very lucky to be in the city of Seattle. City of Seattle is, at least locally, the most supportive of building affordable housing. And we were awarded $9.7 million in this fall from the city, and they will work with us through the process. We're very early on. And from that standpoint, I was going to let Eric Cruz, our project manager for the project, actually talk about where we are and what we're looking at providing, and a little bit of the support services and support that building will provide to the residents.
Thank you, everybody. I'm Eric Cruz. As Allison mentioned, I'm a project manager with Bridge Housing Corporation. I am actually a resident of Ballard. I've been here for about 12 years now, so I'm excited to be a part of this process. Just let you know, my notes are on my phone, so I will be looking at this as I go through. A little more? There we go. Okay. So, so as Britt and Allison mentioned, we we responded to the request for proposal. We were excited to have been selected. We're working on the development for the 15,000 square foot parcel just to the east of us, and it does have the cottages. And so, as Allison mentioned, we wanted to make sure that our priority is providing the most affordable housing that we could on the project, and that includes, a minimum of 80 units. And as we've gone through this process, we've made sure to keep that in mind. And so, since we were awarded the project, we, as Allison mentioned, got, applied for and received funding from the Office of Housing, which goes a long way for our financing on the project. We have since also done our due diligence, so over the winter and into the spring, we've been out here doing exploratory work, getting reports done to be able to inform our design for the project as we move forward and to help us through the design aspect of that. One of the things that was very important for St. Luke's was having a unified vision for both buildings, right? We have two separate developments, and so we're working with Via Architect, who's also the same architect firm that's doing the market rate building, and we're sensitive to the neighborhood needs and the neighborhood itself. And so a lot of effort has been put forth, and is drawn behind us, for the modulation of the building along 58th Street, the green corridor, having that setback for a courtyard so that it blends in with the adjacent building that also will have a setback too. In early part of this year, in January, we had a meeting with the city of Seattle and some stakeholders, neighborhood stakeholders, and for early design guidance. And the meeting went really well. The project was well received, and we got the green light to move forward to the next step, which is the master use permit application that's coming up here shortly. So right now we'll touch on a schedule, just kind of go through that process. We're currently in pre-development aspect of things. Via Architects will be submitting for the master use permit here pretty soon, so you'll be seeing signs going up. So that'll help you understand why they're going up. Yes. Yeah, that'll be the application, and so shortly after that, the signs will be going up for everybody. On the 26th, as Britt mentioned, we'll be meeting with the neighborhood. We send out notifications to the immediate neighbors to discuss, to provide more information on the project and what's the schedule like and what's coming up. Right now, the project is tentatively slated to start in the fall of 2023. That's contingent on various things. Obviously, there's the design, there's the permitting phase, and there's the financing phase. So over the next year, we're going to be working very hard to make sure those all fall in line so that we can hit that milestone. The project itself is going to take about 17 months to build, and so that completion will be approximately early 2025. And we'll start our lease-up efforts, about 3 months before it ends, so roughly end of 2024 will be our lease-up beginning, and it will continue about 6 months after completion until the project is fully 100% leased up. So now we'll talk a little more about the actual physical design of the project. The parcel is 15,000 square feet, and it's a little on the tighter side. So we're working to maximize as much as we can on the site itself. So the building is 8 stories tall. And as Britt mentioned, the church has worked very, very hard to try to get the most affordable housing that we can on the site, right? And they pushed very hard to get exceptions made for the code to be able to get more units. And the great part about that is it's allowed us to be able to supersede that or go over our minimum of 80 units. We currently have 84 units that we're including on the project itself. Those 84 units, are comprised of, studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. And the 39% of those units are going to be large family units. That's going to be the 2 and the 3 bedrooms, and that is our focus on this. The project itself is also going to include parking. While it's not required by the city of Seattle, we think it's very important for our tenants to have parking. We tried really hard to put it below grade. It's cost prohibitive. It's very expensive. So we're putting it on the first floor, and it's tucked under parking, so it wraps around the back side of the building. The building itself will also target, resident population, families of up to 60% of the area median income. And the exciting part about that is it's the first of its kind in Ballard in a very long time. So we're excited to be a part of this process and see this go through. And then, okay, lastly, we'll touch on family services. So the Bridge prides itself to be able to provide services for all our tenants across all our properties. And we work very, very hard to be able to do so. Here at St. Luke's, we partnered up with Family Works Northwest. They've been here in the North Seattle area, serving the community for over 25 years. And they currently have their main office in Wallingford, right next to their food bank. They also have a location that's about to open at Cedars Crossing in the Roosevelt train station. That's also an affordable housing project that's up there. And Family Works is going to work closely with all the families. Actually, we're going to bring them on board early on during the lease up to be able to talk one-on-one with our tenants, get that vital information from them on their needs, and then work in-house to see what they can provide in-house together. And then one of the great things is if they cannot address something in-house, they will do a referral out to other neighborhood organizations such as the Ballard Food Bank. And so I just realized that I skipped completely over one section that I was talking about, and that's amenities. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit before I transition to Britt. The great thing about the building is, as we're designing it, we're thinking of, what can we include on the building with the tenants and with the space that we have available. We are going to have on-site management during the work week and business hours to help address any questions and with the upkeep of the building. We're also going to have a bike storage room, which bodes really well because 58th Street is a biking corridor. And it's a great access to it's a portal to different parts of the city. We'll also have a community center, front center in the building. It's going to be for the use of tenants, and it's also going to double up as a space for our services folks to be in and work with tenants there. We also have a courtyard up front, and then we are going to have a rooftop deck for tenants to enjoy wonderful views of Mount Rainier and other places. And with that said, we do have great amenities on the building. It's also exciting because we're in such a great location that we have amazing amenities to share through the neighborhood, right? We have the library just half a block away, Commons Park, which is going to get a new playground here in the future. And since there's going to be families, it's going to be great for the tenants and the children that will be on the property. So with that, I think I'll thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I am excited to be a part of this, and I'll transition to Britt.
Yeah, you're going to stay up here because we're going to do question and answer.
Yeah, and I've got
So,
that too.
yeah, stay right up here. But I've missed one part of this is that it's important that I really want to emphasize. This is affordable family housing for people who are making 30 to 60% of the area median income. This is not the same as Housing First. Nair or Ness House, you all know, some of you know where Nair or Ness is. Cheryl Chow Court, and the new Plymouth housing right by Ballard High School. Those are all Housing First. That's taking people directly out of transitional housing or putting them directly off the street into housing. This is going to be for people who are either in danger of losing their housing or who can no longer afford to live in this neighborhood, who work around here or, or have connections around here. And it's going to be with the emphasis on family housing. A lot of the Housing First are just small studios. These are going to be apartment homes for, if you had to take in your mother-in-law and you didn't have room for her there, you could have a 3-bedroom unit. This is a lot of our membership. If you have a kid, you can't afford to live in Ballard anymore. So this is going to be focusing on that lowest income, lower income residents and neighbors in our neighborhood. And the only way we can do this, the reason why there has not been any affordable family housing built in District 6, that's our city council district, in over 20 years is because the land is so valuable. And every real estate person will tell you that you need to get highest and best use out of your land. Sell for as much as you can get out of it. But we made a commitment here that we wanted to get as much affordable housing, that we wanted to do well for the church by doing good. So what that means is we've given up half of our land value as a ground lease. We are not losing the land. St. Luke's is not selling. We're not leaving. We are leasing our land to a wonderful nonprofit affordable family housing provider who will not only provide affordable housing now, but is in a 99-year lease with us to keep that housing affordable over 99 years, not just 15 years as required by law in the MFTE. So that's important, is this is a sacrifice on the part of our diocese and our congregation of a portion of the dollar value for something far greater that we think is worth much, much more, which is providing homes for people who could otherwise no longer afford to be in this area. All right, with that in mind, questions, comments?
I just wanted to say, I think that what we really are talking about is workforce housing.
Yeah, so Susan's bringing up workforce housing. We are going to have workforce housing, which is 65 to 80% of the average median income. That's a technical term, Susan. And workforce housing is going to be mixed in with our market rate developer. So there's two different official designations. Workforce housing is for people making 65 to 80% of the average median income, but 30 to 60% is much lower income. Okay? So we're going to have both. We're going to have both. Yeah. Other questions, comments? Yeah, Brian.
So you keep mentioning the market rate component. Are the units mixed, or is there a separate building for market rate versus the affordable?
That's a great question. Yes. So we've mentioned a market rate building, but we're not presenting on that today. We are planning to present on the market rate building in September. We'll have the same sort of thing. We'll have a congregation, St. Luke's presentation only on a Sunday, and then a neighborhood meeting. And we originally, Bridge and our market rate provider, we really were excited because they wanted to work together closely. They'll be able to tell you a little bit more detail. But because of the way the codes and the laws are written for for supportive housing in Seattle, they can't do a mixed building, which is a shame because that would have been, right? We would have had everybody mixed in together, which is, we all know that communities do better when you don't have sort of a us and them, the poor building and the rich building. That just is horrible. But we're trying to mitigate that by having the St. Luke's space continue to be a central space available to people who live in both buildings. So that the connection is us. We're the community that houses, that owns the land for all of the people who are here. And we will hopefully hear more in September about our market rate development. So that's a great question. Did you want to say anything more about why the two buildings aren't able to mix? I mean, it's technical, and if your eyes glaze over, just say, my eyes are glazing over.
Yeah, I think one of the simpler reasons why at this point they're not mixed is because affordable housing has so many governmental funding sources. What really, and this is actually Office of Housing sort of push from experiences they've had on some of the more complicated projects they've done recently, which is they want to be able to say, this is the affordable house, this is, or building, this is the property it sits on, and that it's not commingled with another market rate, or if it is, that it's very simple to describe. We've talked over the last year about, maybe it's a transformer vault we're sharing, maybe it's a stormwater vault that we're sharing, that we make it as flexible as possible so that we could go forward individually, and then as the design develops and we get closer to construction, those items that we can do together, we would. You know, in my perfect world, we would have the same contractor because it would be one person on the site. The practicality of that is we're not sure it can happen. So we don't want to make any promises. And our timelines are a little different. Affordable housing, because of our financing, we have a lot of hoops to jump through there. Market rate developers, it tends to be more straightforward because they have an income stream that they can prove up and get their loans based off of.
But we are ahead on the affordable housing. We've already got that agreement signed. It is happening. So that's kind of exciting. That's where our priority has been. Other questions or comments or anything online page that we need to know about? Nothing yet? Okay. Oh, good. Barbara Wilson. Everybody say hi, Barbara. Yeah, Keller.
What's the breakdown between the different, like 1, 2, 3 bedrooms there? How's that?
Great. What's the breakdown between 1, 2, and 3 bedroom right now, Eric?
Look at the actual number. So we have 28 total studios, 22 one-bedrooms, 14 two-bedrooms, and 20 three-bedroom units. One of the two-bedroom units is for the on-site manager. So that's the breakdown of all the units.
So I think, just as a point of interest, one of the things, because this building just has units on the second floor through the 8th, the reason why the numbers are a little skewed and we would typically want to split things out a little bit more is that we actually design them in stacks. So you'll have a stack of 3 bedrooms at a corner. So when we swap, you'll see it's in increments of 7 because that's how many floors we have.
Other questions? Concerns? All right. Nothing else online? This is your chance. Okay. So in September, we should have some more information about the new church space and the market rate building and information about how that's going to affect St. Luke's. But regardless of whether that goes forward or not, or when that goes forward, we are going forward with affordable family housing and the financing and the partnership with Bridge Housing and with Family Works. And so we just give thanks to God for this because this is remarkable. And who would have thought little St. Luke's would be able to do this because it's punching way above our weight. The reason is because we've had some really smart people helping us figure it all out and some really great support from a number of people, including the diocese and some of our granting organizations. Eventually, we will be able to do a campaign for people who want to donate to making this all possible. That's a capital campaign. We'll be doing that because we think that there are people who strongly believe in this, not just in our congregation, but in the larger diocese, who might want to be part of supporting us being able to complete this. Yeah, Paige.
One question online.
Yes.
Dave Boyd asked, the website says the slug is going away.
Yes, the slug is going away.
Any chance it could be incorporated as a roof deck?
I'll let the bridge people answer that question.
Yeah, so unfortunately for our financing, one of the major financial pieces we use is low-income housing tax credits. And the way those work is they are only for the benefit of the affordable housing folks in the building. When we'd originally conceived of the project and we were working closely with Security Properties, we had hoped to utilize, they have an enormous deck, so we were hoping to be able to do some cross uses. So right now we are planning some rooftop gardens that people can utilize, but they would be centric for our residents.
One of the things we've thought about, and this is kind of the more exciting part that you'll hear about in the next meeting, is how St. Luke's might, in our space, can support our neighbors. And one of the things we've thought about is offering gardening mentoring to our folks living in the affordable housing who want to have a rooftop deck and need help and experience in how to do that. And that would be a a lovely way to kind of pass on the expertise of our amazing gardeners at the Slug Garden. They did mention, Allison did mention that on 58th, which is a green belt, the plan is to save as many of the trees and a little bit of even the rain garden, and to create a courtyard for the bridge building, which you can sort of see in this artist's resident rendering. So there will be a lot of green space. We'll keep the trees on all the parking strips. So I just was in a meeting with the landscape architects. They'll put trees and gardens on the rooftops of both buildings. So trying to preserve as much of the greenery as we can, including as many of our what they call exceptional trees as we have. Yeah.
How far does it go? You take the 3 lots in the back, so does it include the parking lot, or?
No, so what her question is, how far will the affordable housing go? It'll only go on the 3 lots that include the Slug and the cottages, and it'll stop at where our parking lot is. So the bridge housing building will go up there. And if you've been back there, that's not a large space. So they are working their master work to get as many units, because we want to house as many people as possible there, but not have it be in just little tiny, places, that there'll be room for families to be there. So yes, that's all going on our back 3 units, back 3 lots. Any other questions? Yeah.
So this actual building here that we're in now, right now, this is going to be destroyed, right?
If we so this building will be destroyed. If we get a deal with Security Properties for redevelopment of this portion of the property, yes, this building will go down. Right now, we haven't got that deal yet.
Oh, so this is tentatively, this is still staying?
That's tentative, and we hope to give you more information in September about that. This is just saying that for certain, we're going to do affordable housing building on the 3 back lots.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Which is a great question. Thank you, Marcus. Yes?
Another question from Dave Boyd. Is the new church part of the Security Properties building, but with a different architect?
Correct. That's a great question. Is the new church building, the new church space, part of the market rate building with a different architect? Yes. So the same architect right now is developing the plans and the master use permit for both the market rate building and the affordable housing building. But the unit where the church will be is right here on this corner, on the ground floor, 2 stories, 14,000, just about almost 14,000 square feet. And the architect to finish the interior and to provide all the facilities is Olson Kundig. So it's a separate architect from VIA, which is doing the other parts of the buildings. So that's a great question. Yeah, Nancy. So the square footage, what is the current square footage of the existing Bennett Hall? So the square foot of the existing Bennett Hall and the chapel altogether is 14,000 square feet. So we will be getting the same amount of square feet, only all of it will be wheelchair accessible. It will have many more bathrooms. It will have all new facilities, including a kitchen, office space, classrooms. It will have a multi-purpose space that can be used for large groups of worship, and a smaller chapel that will just be for St. Luke's use 24/7. So it's going to be equal to the amount of space we currently have between these 2 buildings, but it will be much more functional. Much more functional. Anyone who's ever tried to go down the back stairs from the sacristy to the kitchen in the chapel can tell you that that is like, asking for an injury. As you know, this is the only space that's wheelchair accessible in the whole building. So both of our buildings. So it's going to be much more usable. We'll also get parking spaces in when the church space. We'll get parking underground that will be for church use. So that's I want to tease you about that because that's the September meeting when we have, if we have a signed contract and the ability to tell you in more detail. Any other questions? These are great questions, by the way. It's a little overwhelming. Those of us on the property stewardship team have had since 2017 to learn all the acronyms. I thought church was bad with its acronyms and its funny words like narthex and sanctuary and stuff. Holy moly, the construction real estate business, we had to get a cheat sheet provided for us by our owner's rep because, and I'm always going, what's a T&I? What's a MUP? So it's been a real education, and I'm glad for the patience of our partners who've helped us to learn. I will say this, our learning, particularly the work that the property stewardship team has done, has put that team in touch with people all over the country who want to do something similar to what we're planning and haven't been able to. This is a pretty complex and very unique plan. And it's gotten a lot of attention from all over the Episcopal Church and even non-Episcopal churches. Turns out I will be speaking in November to an entire nationwide faith-based development conference put on by Enterprise Community. So what we're doing really has the potential to help other churches use their property to do good and to do well at the same time. Any other questions? Nothing online? All right, that's pretty good. That was less than an hour. So this is the easy group. Don't come on June 26th if you're nervous about tension. You guys are the easy group. June 26th is going to be a different group. It'll be our neighbors who we love, but there will be some harder questions. All right. Bless you all. Thank you to Eric and Allison for your good work, and we look forward to hearing more. Bye.